Today we're going to do something a little different. I know I usually do fishing videos, but well, it's been very windy, too windy for my canoe. We've had a lot of thunderstorms lately. The fishing hasn't been very good, and I hurt my rotator cuff recently, so it really hurts to lift the canoe off the car and put it back on the car. So I just haven't been doing a lot of fishing. And as the weather cools down here, every year when that happens, I get in the mood to do a little target shooting. And in my backyard, I can actually shoot air rifles, so I have made, over the years, a few air rifle targets. So most of these targets are resettable, and some of them are kind of interactive. So the first thing I did was I made a spinning target. This just spins. I can't get them to spin very well. If you hit it with a pellet, these will really spin pretty well. And I'll demonstrate them all later. But all this is a couple of spoons with the handles bent around a metal bar. That's all it is. And they spin very well. These are old spoons that I found in the garage. I imagine they were probably used to mix up weed killers and pesticides, but they're old, so they're really rugged spoons. I had to heat these with a torch and put them in my vise to bend them. But all this is a steel bar. I cut the bar down to size, built this little stand, cut holes in the stand, slid the bar in, slid these on, slid the bar the rest of the way through. This bar can move back and forth a little, so it could slide out of here. So you need to do something about that. You could drill a hole, put a cotter pin, something like that. I just took electrical tape and wrapped it around both sides, and it has worked great. I've had no problem with this. I've been shooting this thing for several years now, and this is the tape is still on there good. This one has a tendency to creep this way a little bit, and then when you hit it, the pellets will deflect and hit the side of this. And when it's over here, sometimes I miss and hit this, so I don't know how well you can see that on camera. This is kind of banged up. I've repainted it recently so it doesn't look bad. But I'm going to put a little piece of steel here and on the inside to correct that. I hit this on the side a couple times and it bent quite a bit. I just bent that back. Hopefully that'll help from it deflecting there so much. This one sometimes sticks like that. Not a big deal. You just shoot it from this side, knock it back down. But this is a lot of fun. It's very inexpensive. You should bring these inside when you're done with them. This will all rust, of course. You don't want to paint them because you want this to be pretty smooth. So I put a little WD-40 or some other lubricant on there once in a while so it spins well. But my garage is pretty damp. It gets really humid in here, and certain types of metal seem to rust pretty quick in here. So every once in a while I'd have to sand this down and respray it. But recently I discovered this stuff. This stuff's awesome. I'm sure many other companies make something similar. This is WD-40 Specialist Long-Term Corrosion Inhibitor. This stuff works great. So I sanded this all down, sprayed some of this on it, and this hasn't rusted at all since. This is a very simple target. This is just a little gong target. It's just a metal plate. You need something fairly heavy. This is from an electrical junction box. However, it's from a very, very old electrical junction box. It's very heavy steel. Nowadays, it's probably made out of aluminum or something, and I don't know if they would work or not. So you might have to go find a steel plate. This might be a couple millimeters thick. What this does is when you shoot it, it makes a noise. So you know you've hit it. Of course it moves anyway. And you can say I spray paint it white. Every time you hit it, it chips it pretty bad. You've got to paint it every once in a while. The reason I did this, and I did it on the spoons too, is because where I set this up, there's some brush behind it. And in the fall, when that brush turns kind of gray, it's very, very hard to see the steel, which is, of course, gray. So I just spray a little white paint on this and those other ones. This is very simple. I just made a little stand and used wire to tie this and hang this on here. I used string the first time, but it broke before long. This wire's lasted a long time. And I didn't make the back long enough, so I had to make a little extension here because it would tip over when it hit without that. But that's a real simple target, very easy to make, and it's fun. And I shoot my pistols at this a lot too. I have a couple of handguns. So this is my newest target. This one's a lot of fun. This one, you shoot it, and it knocks these down. Nice. Then you got to walk over and set it up again. No, maybe not. Ta-da! It's a resetting target. This is a lot of fun. So I can shoot this for a long time and not have to get up and walk 30 yards and reset it. So every time that comes down, I have a piece of string that goes all the way to where I'm sitting, and I have to clamp this down, otherwise it would just move like that. But I just pull this, it resets them, and you're ready to shoot again. So let me show you how this works. So these are on, I believe these are called T-hinges. You'll see them on gates a lot. I had a couple of big ones that were laying around, so I used those. I did have to buy a couple of others, and I got smaller ones just because they were cheaper for one thing. And I ended up making a little bit smaller target for those too. So these two are a little smaller than these two. You can do whatever you want, of course. But in the back, I have some staples, like nail staples, whatever I don't even know what you call them. And this is a coat hanger that I have bent up so that it goes inside there and holds it in place. Same with the other side. And then there's a spring attached to this into the board, and then my string. So when I pull and that resets it, when I let go, the spring will let that come back down. These are just little steel plates that I cut out. I paint them, bolt them on there, and you got a resettable target. So here's a cheap target. Tin can. Have yourself a can of soup, some beans, something like that. You got yourself a can, why not shoot it? Hit them, plink them, it's fun. You knock them over, then you have to go pick them up usually. But, as you can see, I've got these set up so I can just pull my string and you got yourself a resettable can. So all you got to do is take a can, poke a hole through the back of it, run a string through there, and tie a washer to it. That's it. Just need a washer, some string, punch a hole in the can. These cans are you can punch a hole in this with a screwdriver. You do have to drill a hole and run your string through there. But that's it. Can't get any easier than that. sometimes this works pretty well. Other times it keeps getting stuck. But to roll it back up, takes forever. Much faster, much easier. And it rolls up much easier too. This is just a spool. This particular one had speaker wire on it at one time. And I just drilled a hole in there and put a little nut on each side and a bolt for a handle. And you just get a dowel of some sort to put it through. This is an old drumstick. Works much better. This works even better. Chalk line. So this is a chalk box. It has 100 foot of line on it. Got this at the store that shall not be named. 100 foot of line, and it came with chalk, which I'm not going to use. This just reels up like a reel. $5.97. So it's worth it. The thing is, I don't think this one's geared, but a lot of them are geared 3-to-1. So every time you turn this around once, the little reel in there goes around 3 times. It's even faster. This, sometimes when I'm reeling it in, the line will come over here and get around this. Sometimes it makes kind of a mess, so it doesn't work quite as well. But those are some reeling options. Wow, it got hot. Woo! It's been kind of cool here lately. Yesterday was very hot, actually. But anyways, if you're curious, the gun I'm using, the rifle I used, I was shooting through my garage out into the backyard, which is exactly 22 yards. I have a backstop that I can set up against my fence and shoot across the yard. That I can shoot. I can actually shoot it as much as 42 yards, but I didn't want to set all that stuff up today, so that was only 22 yards. I'm using a center point scope. It's a 3-to-9 power, 32 millimeter mil dot. Nice little scope, actually. Very nice little scope for a small gun like this. This gun came with a scope, and I mean it might have been a 15 millimeter, 20 at the most, 4 power, and it's pretty much worthless. So got this one for it. Much better. The gun is this is a Remington Air Master 77. It's made by Crosman, so it's a Crosman gun really, and it's their model 2100. If you have a Crosman 2100, exact same gun. The Crosman will have a brown stock and forearm, and the barrel will be black. So that's the only difference with that. This is a rifled barrel, and this is a super accurate gun. Super accurate. When I miss with this, I know it's me. I've shot all kinds of different pellets through it. I've shot at different lengths, or distances I should say, and if you're using a good gun rest, with this gun you're going to make like dime shaped groups. It's very accurate. I was pumping it up 4 to 5 times. You can pump it up to as many as 10. This will shoot a little over 700, I think about 720 feet per second. And using round nose hunting pellets, I've shot squirrels at 30 yards with this, and they go right through them. It's not a toy. Be careful with these things. So, those targets seem to work. They're a lot of fun. Hope you make some for yourself. Have a good time. If you like this, please hit the like button and please subscribe. Thanks.